As Madame Mask's gang war begins to rage across New York City, battle lines will be drawn, as Spider-Man is forced to break bread with both hero and villain alike. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Amazing Spider-Man issue number 39 and find out what happens next together, shall we? So then, as we join the first official Spider-Man issue in this brand new gang war crossover event, we can see the fighting has been raging on for only about 6 hours now, and already the city is in total flames. Well, it must be a Tuesday. It's also here that some of the weirder players and factions start coming out of the woodwork looking to try and carve up the city for themselves in the chaos, like the Ringmaster and the Circus of Crime. If you're like me, you're probably thinking, what could possibly these losers ever do to try and fight a gang war? Well, when your main power is hypnotizing people, you can actually get a lot of free labor out of the civilians, which is exactly what Ringmaster does, shanghaiing a poor elderly couple into servitude, giving them weapons, and then sending them on a kamikaze mission against Crime Master and his bought and paid for mercenaries. Crime Master, by the way, absolutely hates these guys because all of their super high-tech science weapons are way too much for his street-level ass to handle. Also, all these major weapons of destruction and bigger supervillain factions getting involved in what is essentially just an underworld power play, I guess is going to be this story's justification as to why Spider-Man and all the other street-level heroes need to be involved. And hey, speaking of, we see Spider-Man has assembled himself quite a team of crime fighters since the last issue. They're his amazing defrienders, his acquaintances for action, his new gang warriors. Seriously, I could do this shtick all day. With the help of She-Hulk, Elektra, Miles, and even Spider-Woman, they all managed to make short work of Crime Master and Ringmaster. You'd think with such a success rate they would stick together, but no, we're going by the Scooby-Doo playbook where we actually all need to split up to cover more ground. Elektra is going back to Hell's Kitchen to deal with the heat. Go read the Daredevil book if you want to see what's happening there. Spider-Woman is going to deal with Diamondback and Hydra. Go read her book if you want to see that. And Miles, of course, is going back to Brooklyn to deal with the Hobgoblin. Speaking of Miles, even She-Hulk can see that things are a little frosty between the Spider-Men right now, and I figure now's a good a time to mention, boy, a lot of people sure did lose their mind in that last issue. When Miles dared to give Peter even just the smallest bit of constructive criticism regarding his recent behavior, which we can all agree has sucked if you've been reading the Zeb Wells book. Yeah, a lot of it came from bad writing. But what, should the characters in the story just ignore it and move on like it never happened? If they do that, then basically nothing has happened in Spider-Man for the last couple years. Also too, if you've been reading the Miles book, you'll know he's been going to therapy, and a big thrust of that book is him coming to the realization that just because you're a hero and have a lot of responsibility, it doesn't give you the right to treat people around you badly. Which is something that Peter should already know, considering that great responsibility is sort of his bag and everything. I will never understand how so many people can love Peter Parker because he's this human, fallible character, but then they lose their freaking mind when someone actually does try and bring up some of the mistakes that he's made. Then all of a sudden he's this mascot holy boy who can never be criticized in any way, shape, or form and is always beyond reproach. And yes, I am bringing this up again because there's not much going on in Gang War to talk about. Well, okay, maybe that's not 100% true. There actually is a lot to talk about because Gang War, I'm calling it now, is really more just a story about Janis Lincoln, Tombstone's daughter, who is now fighting back against Black Mariah to reclaim her father's Harlem territory, and she gets an absolute badass moment where she comes on in backed up by her friends from the Sinister Syndicate. And wow, honestly, with that kind of supervillain muscle at her back, Janis could very easily win this entire thing if she wanted to. Now, back at the hospital, you won't believe it, but Tombstone actually ends up coming to and has to get filled in on everything that's happened since he's been unconscious by Robbie. Robbie still very much blames Tombstone and even Janis for what happened to his son Randy, but he also comes to Lonnie as a father, saying that even though Robbie got hurt, Tombstone still has the chance to end this gang war and save his daughter from a similar fate. And you know what? Tombstone actually takes these words to heart in a way I wasn't expecting. They also reinvoke that classic time from 90s Spider-Man when Robbie got all pissed off and just stabbed Tombstone with a pitchfork. There's also a real minor B story here about Spider-Man and She-Hulk teaming up to fight monsters from the monster metropolis who have been woken up because of all the noise being made by the gang war. Yes, that's right, you heard me. Spider-Man is relegated to a B-plot in the book called Amazing Spider-Man. That shouldn't be anything new by now, but I feel I gotta keep saying it. The only thing noteworthy from this B-plot is that She-Hulk runs around fighting crime while still wearing lawyer pants. Now, when Tombstone actually does manage to meet up with his daughter again, Beetle is already drunk on her own sense of power after all the victories she's been having. Before now, it seemed like all she wanted to do was regain her father's lost territory. But now she wants all of Harlem. Hell, she wants all of the city if she can get it, and honestly, it starts to scare the hell out of Tombstone. He sees his daughter going down a path, one very similar to his, that he damn well knows he'll never be able to get her back from. Weirdly though, Janis doesn't bring up the fact that Madame Mask is very much alive and is the one who's actually been secretly pulling the strings on this one, despite the fact that she knows. I guess if she spilled the beans now, then the story would be over, right? And well, we can't have that. We gotta keep reading Gang War till February, everybody, for some reason. Oh, and also, Hammerhead isn't actually dead yet, because no one in this story who seems to have died is actually dead. Which, you know, is just a great way to build drama, I've always said. Now, after being rejected by his daughter and officially having nowhere else to go, Tombstone actually ends up looking up Spider-Man once again, saying the only way they're going to be able to stop Janis and end this gang war is if they work together to bring down New York's biggest organized crime groups all over again. And it's on that note right there the comic comes to a close, everybody, and so that was Amazing Spider-Man issue number 39, a continuation to Gang War, an event that is both better than I thought it was going to be, and yet still somehow frustratingly thin. I don't know if it's just years of street-level Marvel stories have taught me not to take people like Madame Mask and Hammerhead or any of the other gang bosses seriously, so the fact that they can actually threaten the entire city, even when backed up by the likes of AIM and Hydra, I just kind of find it a hard pill to swallow at times. It would be one thing if only Spider-Man was fighting this, but we see the whole city's fighting it. Buried in this story, though, is actually a pretty compelling little piece about Janis Lincoln the Beetle, but even she comes down with a little bit of Zeb Wells' idiot protagonist disorder, where in just the span of one issue, she tearily couldn't kill Randy when asked, but has no problem dropping Black Mariah 20 feet, rejecting her father, and now planning to go on a whole citywide crusade to bring it all under her control. Even though up until now, she was never really that kind of character. In fact, she was kind of confident in just being a supervillain by night, lawyer by day, who could steal from people at both times. They could still potentially save it, but I have my reservations on the matter. Also, if you told me when this Zeb Wells era of Spider-Man began that Tombstone would end up being so important, I'd probably laugh in your face, but hell, the end of this story basically calls all the way back to the first arc, wherein now the only way to save the city from tearing itself apart is if Spider-Man and Tombstone can team up buddy cop style. Again, that could be good, that could be fun, that could be interesting, but I'm certainly not going to hold my breath because I feel like I say that a lot in this series and I'm ultimately disappointed. Overall, I'd give this one a 6 out of 10. It's certainly not the worst Spider-Man's had to offer in the last little bit, but it's not the best either, and I can't believe we're gonna have to keep reading this until February. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest, that's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, you know, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.